Recording in progress.
2 weeks ago, we were in Vermont to snowshoe. And the first 2 days we were there, we experienced extreme cold, unlike anything we had ever felt before. The temperature registered minus 22 degrees with a wind chill of minus 44. And the weather service was issuing life-threatening warnings. Although we were well dressed for it and only went from the house to the car or the car to the restaurant, our eyes and skin stung from the bitter cold. Extreme conditions, whether the biting cold of the snowy north or the sizzling heat of the desert, challenge us to face them in ways that safeguard our life. Today's Lenten gospel calls us to do the same in life's extreme moments, those demanding desert times of stretching and struggle, and offers us a glimpse of how to bring life to desert heart crossings. I want to offer 2 ways to help our hearts stay grounded in life during desert crossings. The first is to remember who we are. We are the breath of God, as the words of Genesis and Joan Chittister clearly remind us today. Our identity is bound inextricably with the Holy One. Whatever challenge we face, we are called to draw deeply from the life breath of God within, as Jesus did during his desert of temptation. In her book, Desert Fathers and Mothers, author Christine Walters Paintner puts it this way: desert spirituality is about God being in the heart of the struggle, and we are to stay there with the holy presence until the treasure is revealed. In this moment, let us together take a contemplative breath and remember who we are. The second way to stay grounded is to remember we are not alone. Even though our desert journey is ours to make, many other people have crossed heart deserts before us. It is essential that we tap into the wisdom and hope their experiences offer us. When we allow their wisdom, as well as people who care for us, to companion us, our hearts can feel a bit more secure when we are in the scorching heat of the desert. Let us each reflect on who in our life can be a wisdom companion for the desert journey. We'll now consider events that can put us in the desert, but rather than my listing them, I want to ask you, what experiences could lead you into the desert? In just a word or phrase, what experiences could lead you into the desert?
Physical limitations.
Physical limitations.
Death or loss.
a death or a loss.
A ding to the ego.
A ding to the ego. Problems with family. Transitions. Separation. Fertility issues. So there are many experiences that can lead us into the desert. I'd now like to illustrate a desert crossing by sharing a heart-touching story about the journey of the McClinchy family when they found out their 2-year-old son was diagnosed with autism. An article recently published in the Philadelphia Inquirer described how Janet and Mike McClinchy felt when their son Jimmy, who wasn't talking, responding, or looking at them, was diagnosed. They said it was a gut punch. But instead of wallowing in their grief, the McClinchys chose to find ways to cross the desert and best support Jimmy's development. His 5 siblings and cousins who lived in the area have been a great support system. With a large family, Jimmy had to learn how to take turns and share space, and he couldn't get lost with all the people around. His parents didn't want to miss their other kids' activities because of Jimmy's sensitivities, so they found ways to help Jimmy get comfortable, such as wearing headphones to cancel out loud noise at basketball games. Now 19 years old, he has graduated from high school and works 3 jobs as part of a life skills program. He loves to swim, draw his own cartoons, and chase the Peloton bike leaderboard. Jimmy has done well crossing the desert of autism, and his family is crossing that desert with him. His mother works in early intervention and provides assistance to other families like theirs. She shares what has worked for their family, what to expect, and what the future could look like. Jimmy's oldest brother, Mike, is an offensive lineman for the San Francisco 49ers professional football team, and Jimmy loves to attend his games. Mike is one of Jimmy's greatest advocates and says this about him: Jimmy has been the inspiration behind our family. He's a blessing and gives me more perspective because he is the most brutally honest person I've ever met. He reminds me of what's truly important. Mike goes on to say, autism is not a black mark on you or on them. There's just something different about people with autism, and they need help to be the best version of themselves. It turns out that it's one of the biggest blessings I could ever have. This desert crossing began with a diagnosis the McClinchy family didn't want to hear. They experienced heartache and uncertainty, but as they journeyed and learned together, their desert started to bloom. They found inspiration and grounding through Jimmy, reached out to other families dealing with autism, and discovered how they could be more accepting of all different kinds of people. I believe their desert crossing embodied the words of poet W.H. Auden, who says, "In the deserts of the heart, let the healing fountain start." The McClinchys, and remembering that Jimmy is a blessing, the life breath of God, brought a fountain of love and healing to their desert. And they drew from the wisdom and companionship of others to give them hope on their journey. As we walk into the first week of Lent, Take a moment to reflect on a desert you may be experiencing now, or a desert you've been in the past. Ask God to touch you with any healing or insight you may need. Last week, I closed my homily by suggesting that we could write a letter to our heart. This week, I ask you to also be in touch with your heart by always remembering that you are the breath of God, and by drawing deeply from the companionship of others.